This morning I have to give a talk on the subject overcoming superstitions. We have many superstitions. What is a superstition? Superstition is the belief in something which has not been proved to be true. That is a superstition. And humanity has had superstitions from the very primitive age till now. Superstitions are there. We consider many things which are not really true to be true. Or what we believe to be true now, eventually it is proved that that was not true. That was a superstition. How to get rid of superstition? That I will tell you at the end of this talk. So superstition is belief in something which is not true. Let me start with religious superstitions. Our primitive ancestors, many thousand years ago, had strange concept of this world. They would sometimes go to the top of a hill, and from there they could look around. They would see the horizon, which was circular. That's why they thought that this earth was a huge circular disc. And some of them would think that there is water around the disc also, because they could see the sea sometimes. And they had other superstitions as well. They would have dreams. All living human beings have dreams. And in their dreams they could see some people who had already died. And they interacted with those people. Then they came to the conclusion that death is not the end. Even after death, a person lives on. After death existence. But when they would wake up, and they would look for those people, they could not see them anywhere. They would search for them here and there, but they were not visible anywhere. Then they used to wonder, what happens to them? When we are awake, we don't see them, and when we are in our dream world, they appear. Then maybe one or two of them had noticed a high-flying bird like an eagle, flying higher and higher and higher and becoming smaller and smaller. And eventually the bird would disappear from sight. One would not be able to see that bird anymore because it has flown so high. That's why that person thought that there must be a world up there which is invisible. And they call that world heaven. This is how the idea of heaven came. And then there were some who thought there was a hollow area under this world. The world is a flat disk, and that is dark and dismal, smelly. And that world is where these bad souls after that death go. That's what they thought. And they call it hell. So the idea of heaven and hell. It went on. Then a time came when, well, many things were discovered in India. And in India, there is a book. In that book, there is a chapter called Goladhyaya. That is, it discusses the roundness of those things which are round and spherical. And there it is mentioned that this earth is spherical. Karatala kalita amalakabadamalam vidanti ye golam. That is, the earth is like an amalaki fruit which is on my palm. Amalaki fruit is something like a plum fruit, spherical. So that book is saying that the earth is not flat, it is spherical. And when that idea came, the old idea of heaven was gone. The earth is spherical. And yet, in a very ancient scripture of Hinduism called Kathopanishad, we read, Yadidam kincha jagat sarvam prana ejati nisritam. Whatever exists in this world, after coming up from its source, divine source, that has been vibrating in cosmic energy, prana. That is one meaning. Everything is vibrating. And that's why this world has its own vibration of certain frequencies where we are living. But there are innumerable such worlds with different states of vibration. They occupy the same space. That is the concept. And each of these planes of existence is called a loka in Hinduism. And also, in the Rig Veda, which is many thousand years old scripture of Hinduism, there is mention of Sura and Asura. Sura means something which gives out light. Asura means something which does not give out light. That is the meaning of those two words, original meaning. And eventually, and in the Rig Veda, if you read the Rig Veda carefully, then you will see that Sura and Asura both would mean the same deities. In those days they believed in deities. They are all both deities. And they were not different from each other. But eventually, the idea of Sura and Asura started changing. And then Asura means which is not a deity, and Sura means a deity. And the deity is called Deva in Sanskrit. And Asura is not a deity. And among the Vedas, there is the youngest one is the Atharva Veda, but that is also many thousand years old. In the Atharva Veda, this idea was there, this of Sura and Asura. At that time, Sura and Asura were frequently considered the same. But sometimes Asura would mean which is not a deity. and then the people of India in ancient times used to call themselves Arya. Arya means noble people. And there is a tendency among all people, nations, to think that they are superior to other nations. There was. And so the idea that noble people means every member of that society would be called an Arya. Arya means noble. Or all were expected to be noble. But there are some people who belong to some other race, and that's why the Aryans would call them Anarya. They are not noble. Just like in ancient China, they used to think that foreigners were foreign devils. That's what I read many years ago. And also in some Native American Indian tribes think that they are the only human beings. Others who look like human, they are not human beings. And the Aryan civilization, or the civilization of those who would call themselves Aryas, in English that is called Aryan. The Aryan civilization spread far and wide in Asia, from the east to west, and it went to Southeast Asia also. And there is a mention of Iraq. The ancient name of that is Oiraka. There Aryans lived there also. And what about Iran? That word Iran has come from the word Aryan, I think. Yes, these Aryas lived there also. And some of those people who lived in Iran and in that part of the world, they had a saintly soul. His name was Zarathustra. Zarathustra, that means white camel. That was the name given to him. And he was a saint. And his teachings are there. And those teachings are called Zoroastrianism. And there they use two words, Ahura Mazda and Ahura Man. The word Ahura is no other than Asura. Asura Mazda and Asura Man. Asura Man is bad and God, and Asura Mazda is good God. So ideas keep on changing. And the ancient Jews were in Babylonian captivity, and while there they heard of Ahura Man. And that's how the idea of devil came in ancient Judaism. There are superstitions everywhere, even today, religious superstition. In America, I have heard that in some hotels they don't have the 13th floor because the number 13 is considered very inauspicious. So such superstition is there. And in Hinduism, there is a great superstition or mania of purification of the body by taking bath. They go and take a bath and they think that their bodies have become pure. But according to divisibility of matter, anything that the body touches remains in minute traces. You can take many baths, but they will not go away. Aside from that, some Hindus, they suffer from this mania. So, taking several baths, they go to the temple and they think that they're okay. But how can they be okay? Inside their bodies, stool and urine are there. But they don't think of those things. Once when I was very young, I used to know a holy man. His followers were vegetarians, strict vegetarians. And they would think that the leftover food of anyone is impure and unholy. And I sort of believed in it. And then when I was a student, I had to stay in a hotel owned by one of our relatives. And there we used to take bath outside. There was a water reservoir and we would take buckets and take out water from that reservoir and pour over our bodies. That was many years ago. More than 80 years ago. And then one day I saw boiled rice in the reservoir at the bottom. And what is this? This water has become unholy because this is some uchishta rice. Then the idea came to my mind, what am I thinking? I'm thinking that this entire water has become unholy. It is ridiculous. Then I gave up that idea by force. So this mania of purification of the body. Mirabai was a saint. She used to say, some people believe that if they take bath every day, they will experience God. So, nit nahane se hari mile to jal jantu hoi. That is, if by taking bath every day, a person would experience divinity, then I would rather be an aquatic animal. But the aquatic animals do not experience God. Anyway. And also there is belief in astrology and palmistry. When I was a young man, I was quite studious, had great inquisitiveness to know about different subjects. So I studied astrology and palmistry also. And many people would come and bring their astrological chart to me to give a reading and tell them what is written there. That's all usually in Sanskrit that would be written. So I believed in astrology and palmistry, and later on I discovered that no, it is not an exact science. None of them is an exact science. Astrological calculations, they're based on stars and planets, their positions and their influences and all. and palmistry. Yes, even some Europeans got interested in palmistry. I read a book by Kiro, Palmistry for All. These lines indicate that the person will be this, this, this. But I examined many palms and found out that they're not really true. The same with astrology. Then an idea came to my mind. These are all superstitions. Yes. These stars and planets, they control our lives. But who controls them? God controls them. So then I say, I would trust God only. And my parents once gave me a ring because once I had to see a dentist and the dentist pulled out one of my teeth and then there was bleeding for a while. Then they said, oh, you're the Mars, that planet is not pleased with you. That's why you're bleeding. So then they gave me a ring, golden ring, which had a piece of coral rock in it. That would please Mars. I used it for a while. And then many years later when I joined the monastic order, I said, what is this I'm using? Then one of my elder sisters came there and I gave her the thing. He said, will you please take this? And I don't look for auspicious time or inauspicious time, anything, if I set out for something. I just chant the holy name of God and go. This is what I've been doing for about 65 years. So these are superstitions, and superstitions make our minds weak. And there are also other kinds of superstition. It is, and I mentioned that is this social superstitions. Some people think that they are superior and others are inferior. That's how in India they are Nara and Vanara, those words came. Nara means human being, Vanara means monkey. Those ideas came. Anyway. And there are political superstitions. Individual selfishness we condemn, but group selfishness we condone. Nationalism, it is group selfishness, and we think that is good. This is all wrong. And that's why many political systems are tried. And the idea of a republic was there in ancient India also. And there were 10 such republics. They would be called Ganarajyas. Gautama Buddha was born in one of them. But they didn't last for long. And socialism, communism, they also failed. They were like superstitions. There was a minister of central government of India. His name is Karan Singh. He once came to Belur Math, which is the headquarters of the Ramakrishna Order, to which I belong. I was at that time there. And he gave a talk, and there he mentioned about the government of India. And the government of India, in the seal, in its seal there is an ancient sentence. Satyam eva jayate nanitam. Truth alone triumphs and not untruth. But Karan Singh said, but what is practiced now in India is mithya eva jayate, not satyam. That means only lies win victory and not the truth. So this is about politics, political superstitions. And there are also scientific superstitions. When we are very young and students, then we were told that there are 92 elements in the periodic table. All the elements were put in tabular form, and those are called periodic table. 92 elements. We had to memorize all those groups. There was a zero group. They didn't have any valency. They were not combined with others. Helium, neon, argon, krypton, xenon and radon. And now another one also has appeared there. Because according to latest discovery, there are now 118 elements. So when we are students, there are only 92 elements. So that has become incorrect, 118 elements. And let me talk about medical superstitions. You have heard the word malaria. Some people are trying to develop a vaccine for that disease, malaria. Malaria means what? Bad air, mal-area. Bad air. That fever has been there for a long time, and the doctors used to think, or medical science used to think, that it is caused by bad air. That's why in India, still now the people say, oh, my health is not good. I'll change the climate. I'll go elsewhere. Hawa badal. Here the air is not good. Let me go to another place where the air will be good. Then, in 1902, a scientist, he was a medical doctor actually, a bacteriologist. His name was Ronald Ross. His parents were British, and he was born in India, Ronald Ross. His parents are in India, British. His parents wanted him to be a medical doctor. That's why they sent Ronald Ross to England, where he studied medicine and all. He studied bacteriology also. Eventually, it was he who really discovered the cause of malaria, that it is caused by some germ which is in the body of the Anopheles mosquito. And that germ, when the Anopheles mosquitoes suck blood from animal bodies, then those germs enter the bodies of such beings, animal or human. And then, of course, they developed medicines for that, quinine and all that for malaria. So, Ronald Ross was given the Nobel Prize for his work in the year 1902. Yes. My elder brother was older than me by 12 years. He was quite studious. In those days, we were all encouraged to study. So my brother, after obtaining his medical degree, then he became then he studied more and more. And every morning I would see him studying books. Then I asked him, you are a doctor, why do you have to study every day? Then he said, you see, if I don't study, these new things are coming up, then I will become backdated. So medical science also is that way. Old ideas are often proved to be false, and they have to be given up. And new ideas come, new truths come. So much for medical superstitions. And there are spiritual superstitions. And there is one spiritual superstition. And if we can get rid of that spiritual superstition, we become perfect. What is that spiritual superstition? That means the belief that we are the body-mind complex. We are a combination of this body, sense organs, motor organs and mind. This belief is a superstition. It is not true. Then what is the truth? The truth is that we are divinity. Divinity is beyond this world of time, space and causation. And our bodies and we all belong to this world of time, space and causation. Divinity is beyond time, so it is eternity. Beyond place, it is no limitations, so it is infinity. And it is pure consciousness, what we call consciousness. The original source of that word consciousness is divinity. That's what we all are. We are one, all one and the same divinity. And this teaching has been given in Hinduism. They came to know it many years ago. And these teachings are in a few sentences, which are called great sentences. In Sanskrit, Mahavakyas. What are they? Tattvamasi, you are divinity. Aham Brahmasmi, I am divinity. I am Atma Brahma, that which I consider as the soul, that is divinity. Aside from that, they also say, Sarvam Khalidam Brahma. Everything that exists is no other than divinity. So, we should give up this superstition that we are a body-mind complex. Many, many years ago when I was a boy, I saw a wandering monk. He was at that time seated under a tree, surrounded by a few people. And out of curiosity, I also went there and sat with those people. And that wandering holy man was smoking something, most probably tobacco, given by some of those people. And he would talk to them also. Then I asked him, Sir, where do you live? He said, I don't live in any place. I wander from place to place. I move from one place to another. I said, you move from one place to another? He said, yes. So in India, you have to go on moving from one place to another? I said, yes. Then he said, but if you fall ill during your wandering, what do you do? At that time, his face, his eyes flashed. And with great strength, he said, pointing to his body. In Hindi, he said, Arey, ye to kaya dand hai. This body is only a cane. He said to me. That means, I use it, I will throw it away. It is I am not that keen. So he must have learned that from the scriptures of Vedanta. We are not our bodies. So how to get rid of this body consciousness? So how to get rid of this superstition that we are bodies, body-mind complex? There are different methods which are mentioned in Vedanta or Hinduism. That means one has to train one's mind in some particular way, then the mind will be able to have a glimpse of what is divinity. And they say that the mind becomes one with divine consciousness at that time. As the mind is like salt, common salt, and divine consciousness is like water, and this mind becomes dissolved in that water. And that, when that happens, that is called samadhi, nirvikalpa samadhi. So, when that has happened, then the idea that is divinity is there. There is whose idea it is? Well, the mind is not there at that time. Mind which has ego in it, that is gone. So, the highest truth is what? That we are divinity. And this is how we can get rid of that spiritual superstition that we are the body-mind complex. That should be our goal. And everyone can achieve it because divinity is everywhere. Thank you for listening to this talk. I will talk about samadhi and other things in the future again, and different kinds of samadhi when I give another talk on meditation and its goal and all in the future. Thank you very much. May the blessings of God be upon all of us.